Hey, what's up? What's up? Back at it once again, Koski, a fun day, kicking this for you and for yours. And before I get started with this, gotta show love to my ancestors for giving me the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And also gotta show love to y'all for, watching, subscribing, they've been growing and been doing this thing. Now this one right here says Somali Americans can buy homes without going to banks in Minneapolis thanks to collective investment. Let's see what this is about. This is written August 9th, 26, 2019. Collective investments are helping Somali Americans in Minneapolis to buy homes, even without visiting a bank, according to the Next City report. Minneapolis, Minnesota is the home to the largest number of Somali Americans in the U.S. city, about 52,000. The dynamic helped the city produce its first ever Somali American U.S. Congresswoman, Ilhan Omar. In 2017, there are around 74,000 people of Somali descent in the state of Minnesota, according to census data. The numbers of Somali Americans have risen into the middle class over the past 2 decades since they started arriving in the U.S. in the early 1990s, driven out of the Horn of Africa by civil war. Despite their wealth, they have had difficulties buying homes due to the affordability and the predatory nature of some U.S. lenders. Community leaders started exploring potential collective wealth through a mortgage and finance vehicle known as Star Finance that was culturally appropriated of offering non-predatory mortgage options, especially for Somali immigrants. So they started their own stuff. You know what I'm saying? Star Finance. That's culturally appropriated to offer non-predatory limits specifically just for them. They ain't going for everybody else. They're going for themselves. When I talked to community members, everybody was crying for solutions, says Sheikh Abi, the community leader in Minneapolis. I think the best way was to cut the bank out. Do we really need the bank if we collectively investing and collectively creating wealth among ourselves? Minneapolis has experienced a combination of rising homes, low inventory, high cost of building new homes, and high demand driven by fierce competition among Minneapolis residents to buy starter homes, according to a report in the Minneapolis Post. Some Somali Americans are Muslim. Paying and receiving interest, riba, is forbidden in Quranic law, which means they cannot acquire bank loans for mortgages. Star Finance is modeled by around recruiting 200 Somalis to each pool $225,000 together. Right? So $2,500 will get you in the gang. 200 Somalis each pool $2,500 to buy 4 homes in the city, then allow prospective buyers to rent those homes to own. Then this is all scaled up for more funds collected from more members. That's called the Zuzu economics. Now this stuff we used to do. It's called the Zuzu economics. We used to do this stuff all the time. You know what I'm saying? But let's look a little bit more into this. Let's look a little bit more. Because Zuzu economics, they still do what they do amongst themselves. Every other racial group does it except for the so-called African American. Let's see. Minneapolis Somali community can soon bypass the banks to buy homes. August 13, 2019. Says Sheikh Abi describes himself as one of the Somali Americans residing in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The state has reported there's 52,000 people who reported Somali ancestry, the largest concentration of Somali in America, and many live in the Twin Cities. But since his arrival to Minneapolis 20 years ago, Sheikh Abi has designated himself as a community activist skilled in mobilizing fellow community members. Almost a decade ago, he began collaborating with American Refugees Committee on ways Minnesota Somali residents could support their home country. So they still doing stuff back to their home country, right? They set it up. The result was a Neighbor of Nations initiative, which engaged the community in fundraisers, including a samba cook-off, charity walks, and 1,000s of giving 1,000, raising $1 million. That work introduced Sheikh Abi to the power of community funding, and he looked for other ways to apply within Minneapolis. Since the first immigration of Somali Americans in the 90s, many has moved into the upper class. But Sheikh Abi keep hearing about the roadblock. They couldn't afford to buy a house in the city that become their second home. So again, Sheikah B mobilized his community to explore the potential in collective wealth. The result is Star Finance. So this they created. He created Star Finance, a culturally appropriate, non-predatory mortgage option designed specifically for Somali immigrants and without the need of a bank. When I talked to community members, everybody was crying for obvious solutions, says Sheikah B. I think the best way is to cut out the bank. Do we really need a bank if we collectively investing and collectively creating wealth among all of us? This collective investment solution emerges from a twofold challenge. One, there is fierce competition among Minneapolis residents to buy starter homes. According to a report by Minneapolis, the city is experiencing a combination of rising home prices, high demand, low inventory, and high cost of building new properties. For Muslim buyers in the Somali-American community, there is another hurdle. Quranic law forbids them paying and receiving interest, known as riba in Arabic. So if a practiced Muslim wanted to buy a home, they cannot go the traditional bank route. Today, we are at the mercy of the banks and mortgage industry, Sheikah B says. He notes that the financing options offered to Muslim buyers known as Islamic no riba or halal mortgages are often predatory. There are middlemen between the banks and the buyers, but they are charging more than the banks and making the community poorer, he says. Star Finance Mortgage model cuts out of the banks and the middlemen. It is based on a simple premise of recruiting 200 Somalis to each to put up $2,500 to buy 4 homes in the city. Prospective homeowners will rent their houses to own for their own Star Finance. Gather Lab, a platform providing resources to innovative investors and entrepreneurs, is supporting the development of Star Finance. Mission-driven finance signed on to build plumbing of the mortgage product, including underwriting criteria and credit enhancements. Kevin Jones, the co-founder of Gather Labs, has spent several years studying informal savings circles in the U.S. immigrant communities and how such mechanisms outside of traditional bankings can be an engine for enterprise development. Star Finance, to him, is more of a formal model of saving circles. It's all based on the community investing in itself and bypassing the bank, he said. Sheikah B has seen the power of formalized community spending firsthand. For the Neighbors of Nations initiative, he knew Somali-American community was already sending money to relatives back home. So he facilitated more formal giving in support of ambitious humanitarian aid. For Star Finance, he again building off what his community has already started. A lot of Somali Americans invest together in one business or a car, he said. So I wanted to create a legal structure where every investor is protected. The current plan for Star Finance is to operate as a real estate investment trust, a company known as a REIT, that owns, operates, and income-producing real estate. There will also be a donor-advised fund to allow donors to make charitable contributions in support of the Somali-American community. Star Finance expects its initial profit off the rental income from purchased home. 10% of the profit will be retained by Star Finance, while the other 90% goes back to Somali-American investors as well as allied investors in the company. Investors outside the Somali-American community will have the option to invest without a voice or a vote in the company. So they let outside investors come in, you know what I'm saying? But they don't have no voice or no vote in the company. So the community will remain in charge. So there's no foreigners in charge of this. It's all Somali-American up and down. The first money is in Somalia, Jerome said. The message to the outside investors that we're following enterprising, bootstrapping Somalis. Sheikah B has already landed the first 20 investors and hope to recruit 1,800 more Somalis investors at $2,500 each. The goal is to purchase 4 homes by the end of the year. Once the bank-free investment product is refined, Sheikah B said he will hope to introduce Finance Stars to other Somali-American communities elsewhere in the United States. Ultimately, he views the company as a larger disruption to the mortgage industry that can attract potential homeowners seeking to cut the banking industry out of their purchase. I see the Somali community as a pilot, Sheikah B says. There's other middle-class people who are trapped in the mortgage system. We can literally disrupt the mortgage system, he says, because everyone is an investor and everyone can profit. Now, if you ever studied Marcus Garvey, This was the thing what Marcus Garvey was talking about with the UNIA. You know, we've been doing it. We've done this many times before. I know many Jamaican communities do this. You know, Chinese American communities do this. Every immigrant group do this. Not immigrant, no, Black Americans or African Americans, not immigrants. We used to do it too. You know what I'm saying? This is how we got the businesses together and kept the money amongst ourselves. Something that we had lost. But it's still being done today by the Somali Americans, and they building up their own stuff for the Somali American people only. Remember, the people that come in, outside investors, they have no vote or no say-so how the money is divvied up and going apart. Anywho, this is Iskosi Fun Day. Spitting this for you and for yours, saying, hey, hit the like button, because all we doing is spitting Black history every day, all day. Peace.